I'm Mint Salad and I saw The Northman. It is directed by Robert Eggers, and my exposure to The Northman is I remember there's a ton of hype surrounding this movie. However, I did not go see it in theaters when it was like, oh, you gotta go watch The Northman, you gotta go watch it. But I am watching it now. So if you haven't seen this movie, like at all ever, I'm gonna spoil it for you pretty heavily actually. So the movie starts with a focus on a boy. He's like, oh my goodness gracious, my father is back. He even goes into the quarters of his mother, and the mother is very rude. She's like, do not ever do that. You're very rude for barging into my quarters like this. Hey, the dad's home. Hail the king. Oh, and he's a prince. Okay, cool. I'm very excited to see where the story leads. We're following a prince, and this prince is about to be ascended. There's a whole ritual for that, but we gotta prepare him for the ascension. So we gotta give him a bowl of water with his dad while they're acting like dogs and howling. And this part was a little bit jarring for me, because I was like, wait, why? Are these dog people? Okay, these must be my type of people, because they're just running around on all fours being like, oh, slurp, slurp, we're gonna slurp up this fun juice, this funny tasting juice that makes these two people hallucinate. You have to avenge me, Amleth. That's his name. That's the prince's name is Amleth. You have to avenge me if I die. This is very important. This is a very key central point to the movie, because they're all hunky-dory, oh yeah, I'll avenge you when you die. And then they are having a fun son and father-son moment, rather. And you know what's fun about this? Well, next day, guess who comes? Turns out his brother doesn't really like him that much, and cuts him. By cut him, I mean he kind of takes him to the middle of a wood after wreaking havoc on everything in that village. And he goes and has a bunch of I guess they're not swordsmen, I guess they're a bunch of spearmen. They poke him to death, and then he gets decapitated. And Amleth, who is running away but not really, he's watching all of this happen. He's not far enough away. You're just gonna get caught, guy. Why are you just watching from that close of a distance? Guess what happens? Well, it turns out that he got noticed. I really like the shot where Amleth comes out of his hiding space, and one of the guys sent to kill him, actually does tackle him to the ground, and the camera goes sideways. And it's fun, just because it's oh, well, he slices his nose and then runs off, and then now camera is correctly ways. And I'm wow, I really wonder what happened to him. Well, he escapes via a boat, and then years later, we get to see him. He's really like a wolf man, I swear. He just likes to do all the fighting. He likes to go to villages and take the swords and slice and dice them. Ka-chow! Bam! Does that to literally everyone. He's just raiding the village. And it's quite a feat. This is actually heavier than I expected. Man, he must be really strong just to carry a sword. Oh man. First, he's dealing with axes and stuff while raiding the village, but some of his mates have swords, and he likes to slice and dice them. And he's all right, well, here's a cool little vixen. What's this vixen doing here? Oh, I'm being told to follow the vixen. Okay, well, I'm gonna go follow the vixen now. And the vixen kind of leads them to someone who's oh, well, actually, you remember your uncle? Yeah, he's kind of somewhere else. He's actually not ruling a kingdom. He's kind of, these dang dogs. I'm gonna murder, death, kill him. Alright, again, he goes to, village where his uncle's at, because his uncle's now a farmer, in Iceland, which is very green. Take very good note of that. It's a very green area. That's a really good place for a farm, honestly. It's nice, it's beautiful. The various shots of the landscape is very nice. And I want to go to Greenland. Wait, that's full of ice. I want to go to Iceland. That sounds like a beautiful place. And so he's about to be like, okay, well, I'm gonna go brand myself as a slave now. And end up going to his farm to go work as a slave, just kind of like be there. And oh my goodness, dogs, be gone! I do this to all dogs who bark in my videos. Yeah. To be a slave, he first has to brand himself, which looks very painful, and then he has to go swim towards a boat that has a bunch of slaves. And he's so cool. He does like a bunch of just like official swimming, paddling stuff, and it's awesome, honestly. And then he like goes right onto the boat and no one notices him. And he's like bigger than every slave on there. And like all the slaves are a little bit puny because they're mostly women except for a few of the men. But he's like bigger than the men, and he meets a friend. His friend that he meets, her name is Olga, and she's really pretty. She has really blonde hair, and I'm like, I want to touch it. And he gets to touch it, which is nice. But they're slaves, and they're kind of like, I'd say manhandled. Just along the, like, what seems to be a desert, and then what seems to be just the fields of good Iceland, until they reach the farmer place, the farmer village, where his uncle is at. So once he's at the village, he gets chosen to be a slave, along with a few others, and Olga is also chosen to be a slave. I guess it's nice to be chosen as a slave by your uncle, I guess, but he's there on not slaving business, but to eventually get revenge, which is a different motive. And I guess Olga herself is a sorceress, which is pretty cool. She does magic, and I'm like, whoa, magic exists in this universe? Alright. Now that Amleth is on his quest to revenge, he is like, alright, time to go get a weapon. Finds his vixen, and the vixen takes us to this cave, and this guy is talking to him. I'm like, what is going on? Honestly, there's this dead head, which is someone really close to Amleth, and also close to that guy. Small world, very small world. And I guess what happens is his spirit is channeled through the head, and then Amleth in that head spirit talk about where this like weapon is, where you can go and grab it. It's a cool sword, and it's like, oh well, it's at the gates of hell with one L, so it might be heal. I'm not very knowledgeable of Icelandic or Viking stuff for any of that matter, so I don't know how to pronounce it. But he's like, alright, well, I'm going to wait for another night. I'm going to be a very good slave. I'm going to be very loyal. And he gets that sword, and he's about to, well, he has to fight for that sword first, but he gets the sword pretty easily. At the same time, he fights a guy, and then that guy turns back to the sitting position he's in, and then falls, I guess. That part was a little confusing to me. This movie's a little bit too metaphorical for me, because 1 minute epic battle happens, then that guy freezes up, and then he Amleth puts his head next to his butt, and then we get a pan to where that guy is sitting in a chair. There's no battle this time to fight for the sword. It's a little confusing, but you know, he gets the sword and he's about to use it on his good old lovey uncle, but his sword locks up, so he can't escape fate. He's supposed to die in battle, don't you know? But so he hides the sword, and then he's also asked a little bit later on that, hey, could you fight in this game where like it's like a 5-on-5 of, I guess it's like slaves versus slaves. There's like two different people's like batch of slaves, I guess, and they're fighting with sticks, and there's a ball. It's like a weird combination of baseball, football, and rugby. That's what it's called. Rugby. It's a really weird combination, but it looks painful. And honestly, it doesn't surprise me that sport exists. There is a point where there's this really big guy that he's fighting against, The big guy was like, all right, well, I have to win no matter what. Oh, looks like my Amlet's mom, by the way, married the uncle, and the uncle and his mom's son, youngest son, is on the field, and he's like, I'm gonna play ball. And the slave tackles him. Oh, not tackles him, like pushes him to the side, is almost about to hit him in the side of the head, and then Amlet is like, all right, I'm gonna punch you, I'm gonna teach you a lesson. And then he wins, and luckily, his mother and uncle's oldest son is like, hey, you're now in charge of the other slaves. You'll never be free, but you're in charge of the other slaves. So now he's in charge of the other slaves. So it's beautiful because he also gets to have sex with Olga. And they devise a plan how to not be slaves anymore. I'm like, oh wow, this is so sneaky. If only they knew. They really trusting the people that are most likely to revolt. That's hilarious. Especially when now it's time to strike. When, all right, let's go slice and dice a couple of the uncle's men. Let's slice them up many different pieces and post them on the house or something. It's a gruesome sight. It's really gruesome. And of course, everyone's like, all right, there must be some curse. Or actually, first, it must be the slaves. Who did this slave? And like, they're beating up everyone except for Amlet. And it's like, Amlet is like the strongest guy there. He could do this. No slave has a weapon though. No one finds a weapon. And Olga, a little bit later that night, slips some of that mushroom that she shared with Amlet with a bunch of people. So now everyone's like fighting each other. Not each other, like one person stabs himself in the neck. Other people are like fighting just the air or fighting whatever, because they're hallucinating and there's so much chaos going on. It's like, oh no, what is happening? Well, time for Amlet to find his mother. After a bunch of slicing and dicing happens, oh, there's a big old battle. Fight, bam, bam. By the way, I should probably mention, movie very immersive. Except for the parts where there's like magic, and then I'm like, whoa, what is happening? This is very confusing. Okay, I guess I can see what's going on now. But Amlet confronts his mother. Hello, mother, I am here to kill my uncle. Don't do that, please. Actually, I love your uncle. I hate you. I hate your father. You were an accident. You were never supposed to be alive. Your father was actually the worst. And I'm just like, oh boy, is Amlet the bad guy now? We're first following Amlet, where it's like, okay, he must be the good guy. This is a revenge story. But now we're at the point where his mother and his uncle are very happy together and have sons, and they're very happy, loving family. And then we have Amlet, who is doing the same thing that his uncle did like years ago. He's going in and destroying families. And it's just, wow, it's a vicious cycle. It has to be a very vicious cycle. And his mother's like, oh, I will take you though. If you kill your uncle, I'm gonna kiss you. And then he gets kissed by her, which is disgusting. I think it was a ploy to get the sword, but she's like, no, I'm gonna slice and dice you. He gets cut, but then she dies. And then the youngest also was like, you killed mom, and then stabs him a bunch in the back, which must hurt. And then he slices him, and he dies. And then guess who comes in? The uncle's like, we're gonna fight. We're gonna fight on a volcano. And you're not gonna do anything about it. You're gonna come. And of course, this is the will of Amlet, because the entire family is destroyed because of what his uncle did. Man, what a vicious cycle. But we're also shown that the uncle isn't necessarily like the best guy, because you got more people dying, including the oldest son of his. And so he's like just randomly going up to slaves and just like chopping their necks, just slicing their necks with knives, just innocent slaves, until Amlet just comes up and he's like, I'm here to fight you. You know, stuff like that. And gets captured, gets saved by a bunch of ravens. And then now it's time to fight. Time to fight. We're going to a volcano, but actually we're going to escape with Olga first, because Olga is pregnant. with Amleth's twins. Actually, twins. He gets a vision that she's pregnant with twins, and he's like, okay, awesome, beautiful family. We're gonna escape on a boat, and we're kind of boating around. But Amleth's like, all right, I really have to defeat my uncle now, though, because I feel like if I'm with my kids, I will never be able to have a good life with them. So I really have to sacrifice myself to go get them. And I'm like, I guess it's kind of noble. You really have a thirst for your fate, but your fate is what you choose it to be. You're choosing to die in battle because you have a big old brain idea of, oh, I have to die in battle. I was told that once when I was a kid. He jumps off of the boat and swims all the way back to shore. Then he manages to travel to the volcano where he's about to fight his uncle. And he goes in clothed. And then he kind of walks in naked. So did the smoke fumes burn off all his clothes? This movie is incredibly metaphorical. If it is a metaphor, I honestly didn't quite understand that it was a metaphor. I'm very literal. I'm like, where are the clothes? I'm still kind of focused on the clothes, but they're both naked. The uncle just kind of like swings at him from behind, and then it's a whole battle. They're both naked. Can't really see anything. It's a lot of silhouettes because there's a whole volcano. And I'm like, is a volcano really that low in value? Like, holy diggity dang, why is it so dark here? Wow. So they're swinging in the dark. They're very naked, very dark, and honestly, it's a whole like slice and dice battle. Who can attack who? And Amleth gets sliced in the arm, very deep wound. But he's like, all right, I'm gonna have to rest here. His uncle is very merciful, doesn't decapitate him at this point, and instead just like looks at him, and they both scream at each other and continue swinging at each other, and it's awesome. They're like, ugh, ah, death, murder, kill, and then one final move from Amleth, decapitation, and the uncle gets decapitated, but the uncle gets one on him, fatally stabs him in the chest, and then he falls to the ground. And he looks up. He gets a vision from his lovely, lovely baby mama. Hey, your children are safe. And then he gets taken to Valhalla via a Valkyrie. And then the movie ends. It's a beautiful revenge story that I'm just thinking, oh, there's no moral, like, there's all moral gray, rather. There's no black or white, good or bad. I'm just thinking, oh, so everyone in this situation sucks. Because even Amleth, he didn't have to, like, murder this really happy family for revenge. I mean, he could have just left them alone, just, like, felt bad about it. Could have moved on, but no, he's really stuck in the past. This is a very honor-based society. You have to get revenge for your father. If he dies in battle by the hands of your uncle, you gotta kill that uncle. And I found this to be very, like, vibey. This is a very vibey film. I really like the dog wolf-like nature of Amleth. And also, what's fun is just the beautiful shots. I gotta really mention the beautiful shots again, because it is so beautiful. And honestly, I like the parts where there's a whole lot of like sword battling, but I also like the emotional parts too. And honestly, if there wasn't like a ton of sword battling in this movie though, I feel like I wouldn't care as much. So there's like a beautiful blend of sword battling and romance interest in this movie. It's pretty long though. It's a pretty long film, but I felt that it was necessary for the movie to be that long in order to tell its story. Because it's a pretty engaging film, I gotta give this movie a solid 7 out of 10. If you liked this review, be sure to like, comment, subscribe, and share this video with everyone you know. The ultimate goal of this channel is for me to become an expert movie reviewer. So, if you'd like to request a movie for me to review, request it in the comments below. Or you can fast track that request at patreon.com/ASEPresents for $20 a month for one movie review per 1 month. Or $3 a month for some daily vlogs, all at patreon.com/ASEPresents. And if you'd like to help support me on my daily grindiness, the daily grind, go to this link tree right here. It really helps with all the daily grinds, all the daily movie reviews, keep on going. And for some NSFW content, go here. And until next time, I'm Mint Salad Sauce. See you later, my salad croutons and bacon bits.